Okay, so when we think about the cloud solutions business model, so the first thing you need to know is the recurring revenue. That is the business model for when you're thinking about cloud solutions. As you think about all the solutions and all the products and services are moving into the subscription models, which is MRR or ARR. So MRR is monthly recurring revenue and ARR is the annual recurring revenue. You need to think about from a recurring revenue concept when you're building is the technology solution. Otherwise, what happens is you can't sell a product or a box and then hope that you can go fix it, because your meter on the cloud is really based on a recurring revenue. You have to pay them every month. So your solution also has to define the same architecture. The second piece of, go to next. One slide before, Blake. So when you're thinking about, now that you know that recurring business model is the new business model that is in existence, there are two licensing models that you need to think about as you're thinking about your solution. One is the net seats model, which is a user-based subscription. So for example, Office 365, G Suite, Beautiful AI, Smartsheet, they're all designed on a net seats model. And the net seats model allow you to really license your product on a user-based subscription on a monthly or a yearly basis. So that's the first model. The second model is the metering model, which is a consumption model, which applies to like Azure or AWS, Google Cloud, and some of the other technology solution, which is based on the consumption usage. So when you're thinking about your solution, you have to think about which business model am I designing. You cannot combine those two because it becomes very difficult to implement. When you're in the enterprise model, the net seats model has a higher propensity to use rather than the metering model, because it's very hard to figure out what does that consumption looks like. Whereas net seats, it's much easier to do pilots, much easier to have a discussion and also go into an agreement that makes sense. Metering is unpredictable, so it's really hard. And if you're using, any of the cloud products, there's always anxiety is if the consumption goes higher, what do I do? So that's why you need to think about as you're designing your product for the enterprise. Next one. So when you're thinking about the solutions, there are multiple ways of how you can build your solution. These are all the licensing scenarios. You can develop a mobile app, and then you can have is your recurring revenue model on top of it, or you can do an AI-enabled business process, that's your solution, or you can build in host portals, or you can do a backup and recovery solution, or you can go from an annual-based to consumption-based kind of solutions you can put together, or build your own apps, which your platform as service. There are multiple scenarios of how you can build your own technology solution, either ground up, or you can connect multiple things and put it together. So when you're thinking about how about the upfront and the subscription and usage, Michael, when you're thinking about it, you actually are doing is the upfront is usually the pilot, the subscription is the annual agreement that you have to in place. That is the best way for the customer to get engaged, okay? Next. So there are 4 areas of monetization that happens in the enterprise world. The first, so there's a circle on the right. It takes you average 6 months to up to 2 years to win it. So you really have to start with the understanding what the customer needs. So assessment is a very good way of engaging with them. Second is writing your strategic narrative. That will help you design what your business model is. Then you target your customers and put your offer. You pitch and win, and then you have as a world-class implementation, and you repeat and rinse on winning your customers. But the way you have to look at it, every time you're going into any customer, always have a proof of concept pricing. In an enterprise market, it's less than 25 would be a successful proof of concept number. Anytime you go with it, it'll be very hard. You cannot really sell $1 million deal with the first one. Usually it starts with a pilot and then goes into a bigger contract. The second one is the monthly recurring revenue. In your contract, you need to be very clear what does that monthly recurring revenue looks like. Third idea is upselling via custom engagement. That could be consulting or different kind of projects you can do that can help you upsell. And the last one, if you're reselling, Google, Azure, or Amazon, you can do is that margins that you can make. So those are kind of your 4 areas of monetization as you think about your selling your solution. So once you have the business model right, now you have to say, okay, what's my value proposition for the customer? You basically have to write, this is a very simplest way. We have taken all the accelerator participant. It takes time. It looks very simple, but it takes a lot of time. And if there are entrepreneurs who have gone through it, they know how much effort it takes to put everything in one place. So what you do is you write your solution name. It tells you exactly the customer you are empowering and what are the benefits you're going to provide through the solution and how is it different for all the solutions. So when you're pitching, you're actually telling the customer what the value proposition is. You're not doing as a generic statement. You're really making sure your scenarios are very clear for an enterprise customer. Once you have this work done, you go into building your business model, which is your design model on it. So Blake, if you go to the next one, is your enterprise value creation. You know exactly the customer segment you're working on, how you work with the customer relationship. You have to be very clear what the value proposition for a customer looks like. What value do you deliver the customer today? What is one of the customer problem that you're going to help them solve? What are the bundles of products that they are offering for each of the customer segment? Which customer needs that you have to satisfy in the enterprise ecosystem, and which solutions can help you achieve the same vision? And then you write down what are the key business processes you are going to help them. Then you come and talk about the resources you would need to support the customer and which partnerships you have to have in place. That will give you what are the cost structures and your revenue stream. Your revenue stream should at least be 2. One is your pilot as well as your recurring revenue model. And if you're reselling, that would be your 3rd one. So those will be your minimum 3 revenue streams when you're thinking about an enterprise value proposition. So that kind of is a very quick way to understand how to put together is your value creation model.